Let's take a look at some tips for, shall we call it, spring cleaning of your Google Drive. Before we jump in, want to make sure that everyone understands the difference between my drive, shared drives, and shared with me. Let's actually start with shared with me. It's important to understand that the files in shared with me are typically owned by someone else. So they are not taking up any of your storage. And if you delete this file, it's only going to remove it from my view. It's not going to actually trash it. Only the owner of a file can permanently delete the file. If we hop up to my drive instead, these are typically files that either you own or that someone else owned, but you added a shortcut to the file in my drive. And you can look under the owner column here, and you can see that most of these say me. But here, for example, is a file that was shared with me, and I added it to my drive simply to make it more accessible. Again, because I'm not the owner of this file, I can go ahead and delete it. In fact, I will. And I'm going to get a message, and it will say, this file will be removed from view. Collaborators will still have access, meaning I haven't really deleted the file. We'll come back to shared drives in just a moment, but let's stay in my drive and talk about two things you can do for some nice spring cleaning. The first one is, on the left side here, you will notice a storage. It's a cloud and it says storage next to it in the sidebar. And when you click on that, you will get a listing of all your files in order from largest to smallest. You'll see here, for example, I have this movie here that is 2.2 gigabytes. Now, full disclosure, I've already done a fair amount of cleaning and have gotten rid of files that are larger than that. But when we're into gigabytes, we are talking about large files. So here's where you want to start making some decisions. Are these files that you really need? If so, keep them. But if you have large files that you aren't using anymore, it really helps the cause to go ahead and delete those. Another thing that you can search for here in Search in Drive is any file with the name untitled. If you're anything like me, you occasionally create documents or spreadsheets or presentations that either you abandon or that you were using for a very specific temporary purpose. And so you never even really gave them a title. So if I search for untitled, I'm going to see a bunch of things here, various documents, presentations, etc. If I look over in that owner column, I'll notice I'm not actually the owner of all of these things. So I can also use this people chip right here. And if I click on people, it will always list you first. And if I say owner, I can now filter down to anything called untitled that I own. And I can simply click on the first one, and I can scroll down as far as I want to go and hold down my shift key and click on the last one. Let's say I'm going to do this group right here, and click the trash icon to get rid of all these untitled files. And speaking of these search chips, if I leave myself here as the owner, another nice one right next to it is the modified. If I click modified, I can actually choose different date ranges. I'm going to choose custom date range. And I'm going to leave after blank because what I'm interested in is all the files that have not been modified in a long time, meaning they're kind of old files. For example, if I go to 2020, let me go to say, I don't know, January 1st of 2020, and I click apply. And again, after is left blank, just before here. This will locate all the files that have not been modified since 2020. And this is another good way of finding files that maybe, maybe you do need them. It certainly is possible. But these are getting to be kind of a little long in the tooth and are potential ones to review for deletion. There are other chips as well. Type is another one if you just want to look for PDF files or just for videos, that sort of thing. So combining using these chips with searching for certain things like untitled, and as I showed earlier, this storage idea, you can probably locate a lot of files that would be candidates for removing. Last thing I want to talk about is this idea of shared drives. I think this is one that is often misunderstood. The idea of shared drives is you can make folders in a place where you are not the owner of the folder. In fact, no one here at CVSD is the owner of the folder. The owner is actually CVSD, meaning if all the folks using the folder go away, as I am next year, for example, you don't lose, or the institution doesn't lose access to that folder. So I, for example, just made a folder called CVU DLL Resources. And what I've been doing is putting files into that folder so that I'm not the owner of them anymore. CVSD is. Now, I know a lot of teams already use these kinds of folders, but I wanted to recommend, this is more for my fellow retirees, that if you want to put something in a spot where it's no longer owned by you, you can come over to shared drives. If you right click, you'll see new shared drive. By the way, a quick note about this, starting soon, probably next year, individuals will not be able to make their own shared drives. So if you find that this option is not available, just go to IT in your school and they will create it for you. And the reason for that, by the way, is it's getting a little messy with the naming conventions, and this will just help keep things more consistent. But for now, I can click New Shared Drive. And we'd like to use a convention where each shared drive starts with the name of the school. So I'll just call this CVU Test for now. And I'll click Create. And now I've got a new shared drive called CVU Test. You do need to click Manage Members to invite other people who will be contributing to that shared drive. So you would here invite your team members and give them the appropriate privileges. I hope those tips were helpful, and happy spring cleaning.